First Malachim, First Kings. Chapter 1. Now King David was old and stricken in years, and they covered him with clothes, but he gat no heat. Wherefore his servants said unto him, Let there be sought for my lord the king a young virgin, and let her stand before the king, and let her cherish him, and let her lie in your bosom, that my lord the king may get heat. So they sought for a fair damsel throughout all the coast of Yasharel, and found Abishag, a Shunammite, and brought her to the king. And the damsel was very fair, and cherished the king, and ministered to him. But the king knew her not. Then Adoniah, the son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I will be king. And he prepared him chariots and horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. And his father had not displeased him at any time in saying, Why have you done so? And he also was a very goodly man. And his mother bare him after Abishalom. And he conferred with Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar the Kohen, and they, following Adoniah, helped him. But Zadok the Kohen, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and Nathan the prophet, and Shimei, and Rei, and the mighty men which belonged to David, were not with Adoniah. And Adoniah slew sheep and oxen and fat cattle by the stone of Zocheleth, which is by Ein Rogel, and called all his brethren the king's sons, and all the men of Yehudah the king's servants. But Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah, and the mighty men, and Shalomo his brother, he called not. Wherefore Nathan spoke unto Bathsheba, the mother of Shalomo, Have you not heard that Adoniah the son of Haggith does reign, and David our Lord knows it not? Now, therefore, come, let me, I pray you, give you counsel that you may save your own life, and the life of your son, Shalomo. Go and get you unto King David, and say unto him, Did not you, my lord, O king, swear unto your handmaid, saying, Assuredly, Shalomo your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne? Why then does Adoniah reign? Behold, while you yet talk there with the king, I also will come in after you, and confirm your words. And Bathsheba went in unto the king into the chamber, and the king was very old. And Abishag the Shunammite ministered unto the king. And Bathsheba bowed and did obeisance unto the king. And the king says, What would you? And she said unto him, My lord, you swore by Yahuah your Elohim unto your handmaid, saying, Assuredly, Shalomo your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne. And now, behold, Adoniah reigns, and now, my lord the king, you know it not. And he has slain oxen and fat cattle and sheep in abundance, and has called all the sons of the king, and Abiathar the Kohen, and Joab the captain of the host. But Shalomo your servant has he not called. And you, my lord, O king, the eyes of all Yasharel are upon you, that you should tell them who shall sit on the throne of my lord the king after him. Otherwise it shall come to pass, when my lord the king shall sleep with his fathers, that I and my son Shalomo shall be counted offenders. And lo, while she yet talked with the king, Nathan the prophet also came in. And they told the king, saying, Behold, Nathan the prophet. And when he was come in before the king, he bowed himself before the king with his face to the ground. And Nathan said, My lord, O king, have you said, Adoniah shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne? For he has gone down this day, and has slain oxen and fat cattle and sheep in abundance, and has called all the king's sons and the captains of the host, and Abiathar the Kohen. And behold, they eat and drink before him, and say, Long live King Adoniah! But me, even me your servant, and Zadok the Kohen, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and your servant Shalomo, has not he called. Is this thing done by my lord the king, and you have not showed it unto your servant, who should sit on the throne of my lord the king after him? Then King David answered and said, Call me Bathsheba. And she came in unto the king's presence, and stood before the king. And the king swore and said, As Yahuah lives, that has redeemed my soul out of all distress, even as I swore unto you by Yahuah, Elohim of Yasharel, saying, Assuredly, Shalomo your son shall reign after me. and he shall sit upon my throne in my stead. Even so will I certainly do this day." Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth, and did reverence to the king, and said, "Let my lord, King David, live forever." And King David said, "Call me Tzedok the Kohen, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada." And they came before the king. The king also said unto them, "Take with you the servants of your lord, and cause Shalomo my son to ride upon mine own mule, and bring him down to Gihon. And let Zadok the Kohen and Nathan the prophet anoint him their king over Yasharel. And blow you with the trumpet, and say, Long live King Shalomo. Then you shall come up after him, that he may come and sit upon my throne, for he shall be king in my stead, and I have appointed him to be ruler over Yasharel and over Yehudah." And Benaiah the son of Jehoiada answered the king and said, "Amen. Yahuah Elohim of my lord the king say so too. As Yahuah has been with my lord the king, even so be he with Shalomo, and make his throne greater than the throne of my lord King David." So Tzadok the Kohen, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and the Kerathi, and the Pelathi went down and caused Shalomo to ride upon King David's mule, and brought him to Gihon. And Tzadok the Kohen took a horn of oil out of the tabernacle, and anointed Shalomo. And they blew the trumpet, and all the people said, "Long live King Shalomo." And all the people came up after him, and the people piped with pipes, and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth rent with the sound of them. And Adoniah and all the guests that were with him heard it as they had made an end of eating. And when Joab heard the sound of the trumpet, he said, "Wherefore is the noise of the city being in an uproar?" And while he yet spoke, behold, Jehonathan, the son of Abiathar the Kohen, came, and Adoniah said unto him, "Come in, for you are a valiant man, and bring good tidings." And Jehonathan answered and said to Adoniah, "Verily, our lord King David hath made Shalomo king. And the king hath sent with him Zadok the Kohen, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and the Kerathi, and the Pelathi. And they have caused him to ride upon the king's mule. And Zadok the Kohen, and Nathan the prophet have anointed him king in Gihon. And they are come up from thence rejoicing, so that the city rang again. This is the noise you have heard. And also Shalomo sits on the throne of the kingdom. And moreover, the king's servants came to bless our lord King David, saying, "Elohim, make the name of Shalomo better than your name, and make his throne greater than your throne." And the king bowed himself upon the bed. And also thus said the king, "Blessed be Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, which has given one to sit on my throne this day, mine eyes even seeing it." And all the guests that were with Adoniah were afraid, and rose up, and went every man his way. And Adoniah feared because of Shalomo, and arose, and went, and caught hold on the horns of the altar. And it was told Shalomo, saying, "Behold, Adoniah fears King Shalomo, for lo, he has caught hold of the horns of the altar, saying, Let King Shalomo swear unto me today that he will not slay his servant with the sword." And Shalomo said, "If he will show himself a worthy man, there shall not an hair of him fall to the earth. But if wickedness shall be found in him, he shall die." So King Shalomo sent, and they brought him down from the altar. And he came and bowed himself to King Shalomo. And Shalomo said unto him, "Go to your house." Chapter 2. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Shalomo his son, saying, "I go the way of all the earth. Be you strong, therefore, and show yourself a man, and keep the charge of Yahuah your Elohim, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moshe, that you may prosper in all that you do, and whithersoever you turn yourself. That Yahuah may continue his word which he spoke concerning me, saying, If your children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth with all their heart, and with all their soul, there shall not fail you, said he, a man on the throne of Yasharel. Moreover, you know also what Joab the son of Zeruiah did to me, and what he did to the two captains of the host of Yasharel, unto Abner the son of Ner, and unto Amasa the son of Yether, whom he slew, and shed the blood of war in peace, and put the blood of war upon his girdle that was about his loins, and in his shoes that were on his feet. Do therefore according to your wisdom, and let not his hoar head go down to Sheol in peace. But show kindness unto the sons of Barzillai the Gileadi, and let them be of those that eat at your table, for so they came to me when I fled because of Abi Shalom your brother. And behold, you have with you Shimei the son of Gerah, a Benyamini of Bachurim, which cursed me with a grievous curse in the day when I went to Machanaim. But he came down to meet me at Yarden, and I swore to him by Yahuah, saying, I will not put you to death with the sword. Now, therefore, hold him not guiltless, for you are a wise man, and know what you ought to do unto him. But his hoar head bring you down to Sheol with blood. So David slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David. And the days that David reigned over Yasharel were 40 years. 7 years reigned he at Hebron, and 33 years reigned he in Jerusalem. Then sat Shalomo upon the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was established greatly. And Adoniah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Shalomo. And she said, Come you peaceably? And he said, Peaceably. He said, moreover, I have somewhat to say unto you. And she said, Say on. And he said, You know that the kingdom was mine, and that all Yasharel set their faces on me, that I should reign. Howbeit the kingdom is turned about, and is become my brother's, for it was his from Yahuah. And now I ask one petition of you, deny me not. And she said unto him, Say on. And he said, Speak, I pray you, unto Shalomo the king, for he will not say you nay, that he give me Abishag the Shunammite to wife. And Bathsheba said, Well, I will speak for you unto the king. Bathsheba therefore went unto King Shalomo to speak unto him for Adoniah. And the king rose up to meet her, and bowed himself unto her, and sat down on his throne, and caused a seat to be set for the king's mother, and she sat on his right hand. Then she said, I desire one small petition of you. I pray you, say me not nay. And the king said unto her, Ask on, my mother, for I will not say you nay. And she said, Let Abishag, the Shunammite, be given to Adoniah your brother to wife. And King Shalomo answered and said unto his mother, And why do you ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adoniah? Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is mine elder brother, even for him, and for Abiathar the Kohen, and for Joab the son of Zeruiah. Then King Shalomo swore by Yahuah, saying, Elohim do so to me, and more also, if Adoniah have not spoken this word against his own life. Now, therefore, as Yahuah lives, which has established me, and set me on the throne of David my father, and who has made me a house as he promised, Adoniah shall be put to death this day. And King Shalomo sent by the hand of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him that he died. And unto Abiathar the Kohen said the king, Get you to Anathoth, unto your own fields, for you are worthy of death, but I will not at this time put you to death, because you bearest the ark of Adonai, Yahuah, before David my father, and because you have been afflicted in all wherein my father was afflicted. So Shalomo thrust out Abiathar from being Kohen unto Yahuah, that he might fulfill the word of Yahuah, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli in Shiloh. Then tidings came to Joab, for Joab had turned after Adoniah, though he turned not after Abishalom. And Joab fled unto the tabernacle of Yahuah, and caught hold on the horns of the altar. And it was told King Shalomo that Joab was fled unto the tabernacle of Yahuah, and behold, he is by the altar. Then Shalomo sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, saying, Go, fall upon him. And Benaiah came to the tabernacle of Yahuah, and said unto him, Thus said the king, Come forth. And he said, Nay, but I will die here. And Benaiah brought the king word again, saying, Thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And the king said unto him, Do as he has said, and fall upon him, and bury him, that you may take away the innocent blood which Joab shed from me and from the house of my father. And Yahuah shall return his blood upon his own head, who fell upon 2 men more righteous and better than he, and slew them with the sword, my father David not knowing thereof, to wit, Abner, the son of Ner, captain of the host of Yasharel, and Amasa, the son of Yether, captain of the host of Yehudah. Their blood shall therefore return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of his seed forever. But upon David, and upon his seed, and upon his house, and upon his throne shall there be peace forever from Yahuah. So Benaiah the son of Jehoiada went up and fell upon him, and slew him, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. And the king put Benaiah the son of Jehoiada in his room over the host, and Zadok the Kohen did the king put in the room of Abiathar. And the king sent and called for Shimei, and said unto him, Build you a house in Jerusalem, and dwell there, and go not forth thence any whither. For it shall be that on the day that you go out and pass over the brook Kidron, you shall know for certain that you shall surely die. Your blood shall be upon your own head. And Shimei said unto the king, The saying is good. As my lord the king has said, so will your servant do. And Shimei dwelt in Jerusalem many days. And it came to pass at the end of 3 years that 2 of the servants of Shimei ran away unto Achish, son of Maachah, king of Gath. And they told Shimei, saying, Behold, your servants be in Gath. And Shimei arose and saddled his ass, and went to Gath to Achish to seek his servants. And Shimei went and brought his servants from Gath. And it was told Shlomo that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath, and was come again. And the king sent and called for Shimei, and said unto him, Did I not make you to swear by Yahuah, and protested unto you, saying, Know for a certain, on the day that you go out and walk abroad any whither, that you shall surely die? And you said unto me, The word that I have heard is good. Why then have you not kept the oath of Yahuah, and the commandment that I have charged you with? The king said moreover to Shimei, You know all the wickedness which your heart is privy to, that you did to David my father. Therefore Yahuah shall return your wickedness upon your own head. And the king Shlomo shall be blessed, and the throne of David shall be established before Yahuah forever. So the king commanded Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, which went out, and fell upon him, that he died. And the kingdom was established in the hand of Shlomo. Chapter 3. And Shlomo made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, and took Pharaoh's daughter, and brought her into the city of David, until he had made an end of building his own house, and the house of Yahuah, and the wall of Jerusalem round about. Only the people sacrificed in high places, because there was no house built unto the name of Yahuah until those days. And Shlomo loved Yahuah, walking in the statutes of David his father, only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Shlomo offer upon that altar. In Gibeon, Yahuah appeared to Shlomo in a dream by night, and Elohim said, Ask what I shall give you. And Shlomo said, You have showed unto your servant David my father great mercy, according as he walked before you in truth and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with you. And you have kept for him this great kindness, that you have given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Yahuah my Elohim, you have made your servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people which you have chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for a multitude. Give therefore your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this your so great a people? And the speech pleased Adonai, that Shlomo had asked this thing. And Elohim said unto him, Because you have asked this thing, and have not asked for yourself long life, neither have asked riches for yourself, nor have asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to your words. Lo, I have given you a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like you before you, neither after you shall any arise like unto you. And I have also given you that which you have not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto you all your days. And if you will walk in my ways, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as your father David did walk, Then I will lengthen your days. And Shlomo awoke, and behold, it was a dream, and he came to Jerusalem, and stood before the ark of the covenant of Adonai, and offered up burnt offerings, and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight, and took my son from beside me, while your handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is your son. And this said, No, but the dead is your son, and the living is my son. Thus they spoke before the king. Then said the king, The one said, This is my son that lives, and your son is the dead. And the other said, Nay, but your son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in 2, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spoke the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor yours, but divide it. Then the king answered and said, Give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Yasharel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of Elohim was in him to do judgment. Chapter 4. So King Shlomo was king over all Yasharel, and these were the princes which he had: Azariah, the son of Tzadok the Kohen, Elichoreph, and Achiah, the sons of Shishai, scribes, Jehoshaphat, the son of Achitub, the recorder, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the host, and Tzadok and Abiathar, the Kohen. And Azariah, the son of Nathan, was over the officers, and Zabud, the son of Nathan, was principal officer, and the king's friend. And Achiashar was over the household, and Adoniram, the son of Abda, was over the tribute. And Shlomo had 12 officers over all Yasharel, which provided victuals for the king and his household. Each man his month in a year made provision. And these are their names: the son of Ben-Hur in Mount Ephraim, the son of Ben-Deker in Makatz, and in Sha'albaim, and Beth-Shemesh, and Elon Beth-Hanan, the son of Ben-Chesed in Aruboth. To him pertained Sokoh and all the land of Hefer, the son of Abinadab in all the region of Dor, which had Tapath, the daughter of Shlomo, to wife. Ba'anah, the son of Achitub, to him pertained Ta'anak and Megiddo, and all Beth Shean, which is by Tzerethan, beneath Yisrael, from Beth Shean to Abel Mecholah, even unto the place that is beyond Yochneam. The son of Ben Geber in Ramon Gilad, to him pertained the towns of Yair, the son of Manasseh, which are in Gilad. To him also pertained the region of Argob, which is in Bashan, 80 great cities with walls and brazen bars. Achinadab, the son of Edo, had Machanaim. Achimaatz was in Naphtali. He also took Bosmath, the daughter of Shlomo, to wife. Ba'anah, the son of Hushai, was in Asher, and in Belaoth. Jehoshaphat, the son of Paruach, in Issachar. Shimei, the son of Elah, in Benjamin. Geber, the son of Uri, was in the country of Gilad, in the country of Sihon, king of the Amori, and of Og, king of Bashan. And he was the only officer which was in the land. Yehudah and Yasharel were many, as the sand which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking and making merry. And Shlomo reigned over all the kingdoms from the river unto the land of the Pelishti, and unto the border of Mitzrayim. They brought presents and served Shlomo all the days of his life. And Shlomo's provision for one day was 30 measures of fine flour and 60 measures of meal, 10 fat oxen and 20 oxen out of the pastures, and 100 sheep, besides harts and roebucks and fallow deer and fatted fowl. For he had dominion over all the region on this side of the river, from Tifsach even unto Azah, over all the kings on this side of the river, and he had peace on all sides round about him. And Yehudah and Yasharel dwelt safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan even to Be'er Sheba, all the days of Shlomo. And Shlomo had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, and 12,000 horsemen. And those officers provided victual for King Shlomo, and for all that came unto King Shlomo's table, every man in his month. They lacked nothing. Barley also and straw for the horses and dromedaries brought they unto the place where the officers were, every man according to his charge. And Elohim gave Shlomo wisdom and understanding exceeding much, and largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. And Shlomo's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country, and all the wisdom of Mitzrayim. For he was wiser than all men, than Ethan, the Ezrahi, and Heman, and Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Machol, and his fame was in all nations round about. And he spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. And he spoke of trees, from the cedar tree that is in Lebanon, even to the hyssop that springs out of the wall. He spoke also of beasts, and of fowl, and of creeping things, and of fishes. And there came of all people to hear the wisdom of Shlomo, from all kings of the earth, which had heard of his wisdom. Chapter 5. And Hiram, king of Tsor, sent his servants unto Shlomo, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever a lover of David. And Shlomo sent to Hiram, saying, You know how that David my father could not build a house unto the name of Yahuah his Elohim, for the wars which were about him on every side, until Yahuah put them under the soles of his feet. But now Yahuah my Elohim has given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurrent. And behold, I purpose to build a house unto the name of Yahuah my Elohim, as Yahuah spoke unto David my father, saying, Your son, whom I will set upon your throne in your room, he shall build a house unto my name. Now therefore command you that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servant shall be with your servants, and unto you will I give hire for your servants, according to all that you shall appoint. For you know that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber like unto the Sidoni. And it came to pass, when Hiram heard the words of Shlomo, that he rejoiced greatly, and said, Blessed be Yahuah this day, which has given unto David a wise son over this great people. And Hiram sent to Shlomo, saying, I have considered the things which you sent to me for, and I will do all your desire concerning timber of cedar, and concerning timber of fir. My servant shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by sea in floats unto the place that you shall appoint me, and will cause them to be discharged there, and you shall receive them, and you shall accomplish my desire in giving food for my household. So Hiram gave Shlomo cedar trees and fir trees according to all his desire. And Shlomo gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household, and 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Shlomo to Hiram year by year. And Yahuah gave Shlomo wisdom, as he promised him. And there was peace between Hiram and Shlomo, and they two made a league together. And King Shlomo raised a levy out of all Yasharel, and the levy was 30,000 men. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. And Adoniram was over the levy. And Shlomo had 70,000 that bare burdens, and 80,000 hewers in the mountains. Beside the chief of Shlomo's officers, which were over the work, 3,300, which ruled over the people that wrought in the work. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and hewed stones, to lay the foundation of the house. And Shlomo's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone squarers, so they prepared timber and stones to build the house. Chapter 6. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Yasharel were come out of the land of Mitzrayim, in the 4th year of Shalomo's reign over Yasharel, in the month of Zihu, which is in the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of Yahuah. And the house which King Shalomo built for Yahuah, the length thereof was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 20 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits. And the porch before the temple of the house, 20 cubits was the length thereof, according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth thereof before the house. And for the house he made windows of narrow lights. And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle, and he made chambers round about. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without in the wall of the house he made narrowed rest round about, that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone made ready before it was brought thither, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs into the middle chamber, and out of the middle into the third. So he built the house and finished it, and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar. And then he built chambers against all the house, 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timber of cedar. And the word of Yahuah came to Shalomo, saying, Concerning this house which you are in building, if you will walk in my statutes, and execute my judgments, and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then will I perform my word with you, which I spoke unto David your father. And I will dwell among the children of Yasharel, and will not forsake my people Yasharel. So Shalomo built the house and finished it. And he built the walls of the house within the boards of cedar, both the floor of the house and the walls of the ceiling, and he covered them on the inside with wood, and covered the floor of the house with planks of fir. And he built 20 cubits on the sides of the house, both the floor and the walls with boards of cedar. He even built them for it within, even for the oracle, even for the most holy place. And the house, that is, the temple before it, was 40 cubits long. And the cedar of the house within was carved with knops and open flowers. All was cedar. There was no stone seen. And the oracle he prepared in the house within, to set there the ark of the covenant of Yahuah. And the oracle in the forepart was 20 cubits in length, and 20 cubits in breadth, and 20 cubits in the height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and so covered the altar, which was of cedar. So Shalomo overlaid the house within with pure gold, and he made a partition by the chains of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold. And the whole house he overlaid with gold, until he had finished all the house. Also the whole altar that was by the oracle he overlaid with gold. And within the oracle he made 2 cherubims of olive tree, each 10 cubits high. And 5 cubits was the one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits the other wing of the cherub. From the uttermost part of the one wing unto the utmost part of the other wing were 10 cubits. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both the cherubims were of one measure and one size. The height of the one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was it of the other cherub. And he set the cherubims within the inner house, and they stretched forth the wings of the cherubims, so that the wing of the one touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall. And their wings touched one another in the midst of the house. And he overlaid the cherubims with gold. And he carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, within and without. And the floors of the house he overlaid with gold, within and without. And for the entering of the oracle he made doors of olive tree. The lintel and side post were a 5th part of the wall. The 2 doors also were of olive tree, and he carved upon them carvings of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold, and spread gold upon the cherubims and upon the palm trees. So also he made for the door of the temple posts of olive tree, a 4th part of the wall. And the 2 doors were of fir tree. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. And he carved thereon cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, and covered them with gold fitted upon the carved work. And he built the inner court with 3 rows of hewed stones, and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year was the foundation of the house of Yahuah laid, in the month of Ziu. And in the 11th year, in the month of Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it. So was he 7 years in building it. Chapter 7. But Shalomo was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. He built also the house of the forest of Lebanon. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits, upon 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams upon the pillars. And it was covered with cedar above upon the beams, that lay on 45 pillars, 15 in a row. And there were windows in 3 rows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And all the doors and posts were square with the windows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And he made a porch of pillars, the length thereof was 50 cubits, and the breadth thereof 30 cubits. And the porch was before them, and the other pillars and the thick beam were before them. Then he made a porch for the throne where he might judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from one side of the floor to the other. And his house where he dwelt had another court within the porch, which was of the like work. Shalomo made also a house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken to wife, like unto this porch. All these were of costly stones, according to the measures of hewed stones, sawed with saws within and without, even from the foundation unto the coping, and so on the outside toward the great court. And the foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits. And above were costly stones, after the measures of hewed stones and cedars. The great court round about was with 3 rows of hewed stones, and a row of cedar beams, both for the inner court of the house of Yahuah, and for the porch of the house. And King Shalomo sent and fetched Hiram out of Tzor. He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tzor, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning to work all the works in brass. And he came to King Shalomo and wrought all his work. For he cast 2 pillars of brass of 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits did compass either of them about. And he made 2 chapiters of molten brass to set upon the tops of the pillars. The height of the one chapiter was 5 cubits, and the height of the other chapiter was 5 cubits. And nets of checker work and wreaths of chain work for the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, 7 for the one chapiter, and 7 for the other chapiter. And he made the pillars and 2 rows round about upon the one network, to cover the chapiters that were upon the top, with pomegranates, and so did he for the other chapiter. And the chapiters that were upon the top of the pillars were of lily work in the porch, 4 cubits. And the chapiters upon the 2 pillars had pomegranates also above, over against the belly which was by the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows round about upon the other chapiter. And he set up the pillars in the porch of the temple. And he set up the right pillar, and called the name thereof Yachin. And he set up the left pillar, and called the name thereof Boaz. And upon the top of the pillars was lily work, so was the work of the pillars finished. And he made a molten sea, 10 cubits from the one brim to the other. It was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about. And under the brim of it round about there were knops compassing it, 10 in a cubit, compassing the sea round about. The knops were cast in 2 rows when it was cast. It stood upon 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, 3 looking toward the west, 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east. And the sea was set above upon them, and all their hinder parts were inward. And it was a handbreadth thick, and the brim thereof was wrought like a brim of a cup, with flowers of lilies. It contained 2,000 baths. And he made 10 bases of brass, 4 cubits was the length of one base, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, and 3 cubits the height of it. And the work of the bases was on this manner. They had borders, and the borders were between the ledges. And on the borders that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubims. And upon the ledges there was a base above, and beneath the lions and oxen were certain additions made of thin work. And every base had 4 brazen vessels, and plates of brass, and the 4 corners thereof had undersetters. Under the laver were undersetters molten at the side of every addition. And the mouth of it within the chapiter and above was a cubit, but the mouth thereof was round after the work of the base, a cubit and a half. And also upon the mouth of it were gravings with their borders, foursquare, not round. And under the borders were 4 wheels, and the axle trees of the wheels were joined to the base, and the height of a wheel was a cubit and a half a cubit. And the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axle trees, and their naves, and their felloes, and their spokes were all molten. And there were 4 undersetters to the 4 corners of one base, and the undersetters were of the very base itself. And in the top of the base was there a round compass a half a cubit high. And on the top of the base the ledges thereof and the borders thereof were of the same. For on the plates of the ledges thereof and on the borders thereof he graved cherubims, lions, and palm trees, according to the proportion of every one, and additions round about. After this manner he made the 10 bases. All of them had one casting, one measure, and one size. Then made he 10 lavers of brass. One laver contained 40 baths, and every laver was 4 cubits, and upon every one of the 10 bases one laver. And he put 5 bases on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he set the sea on the right side of the house eastward over against the south. And Hiram made the lavers, and the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he made King Shlomo for the house of Yahuah. The 2 pillars and the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were on top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, and 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, even 2 rows of pomegranates for one network, to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were upon the pillars, and the 10 bases and the 10 lavers on the bases, and one sea and 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, and all these vessels, which Hiram made King Shlomo for the house of Yahuah, were of bright brass. In the plain of Yarden did the king cast them, in the clay ground between Succoth and Sarathan. And Shlomo left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceeding many. Neither was the weight of the brass found out. And Shlomo made all the vessels that pertained unto the house of Yahuah, the altar of gold, and the table of gold, whereupon the showbread was, and the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side, and 5 on the left, before the oracle, with the flowers, and the lamps, and the tongs of gold, and the bowls, and the snuffers, and the basins, and the spoons, and the censers of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit, of the temple. So was ended all the work that King Shlomo made for the house of Yahuah. And Shlomo brought in the things which David his father had dedicated. Even the silver and the gold and the vessels did he put among the treasures of the house of Yahuah. Chapter 8. Then Shlomo assembled the elders of Yasharel, and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Yasharel, unto King Shlomo in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahuah out of the city of David, which is in Sion. And all the men of Yasharel assembled themselves unto King Shlomo at the feast in the month of Ithanim, which is the 7th month. And all the elders of Yasharel came, and the Kohen took up the ark. And they brought up the ark of Yahuah, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle. Even those did the Kohen and the Leoi bring up. And King Shlomo and all the congregation of Yasharel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitude. And the Kohen brought the ark of the covenant of Yahuah unto his place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubims. For the cherubims spread forth their two wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubims covered the ark and the staves thereof above. And they drew out the staves, at the ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracle, and they were not seen without. And there they are unto this day. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone, which Moshe put there at Horeb, when Yahuah made a covenant with the children of Yasharel, when they came out of the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to pass, when the Kohen were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahuah, so that the Kohen could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of Yahuah had filled the house of Yahuah. Then spoke Shlomo. Yahuah said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. I have surely built you a house to dwell in, a settled place for you to abide in forever. And the king turned his face about, and blessed all the congregation of Yasharel. And all the congregation of Yasharel stood. And he said, Blessed be Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, which spoke with his mouth unto David my father, and has with his hand fulfilled it, saying, Since the day that I brought forth my people Yasharel out of Mitzrayim, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Yasharel to build a house, that my name might be therein, but I chose David to be over my people Yasharel. And it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel. And Yahuah said unto David my father, Whereas it was in your heart to build a house unto my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Nevertheless, ye shall not build a house, but your son shall come forth out of your loins, he shall build a house unto my name. And Yahuah has performed his word that he spoke, and I am risen up in the room of David my father, and sit on the throne of Yasharel, as Yahuah promised, and have built a house for the name of Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel. And I have set there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahuah, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. And Shlomo stood before the altar of Yahuah, in the presence of all the congregation of Yasharel, and spread forth his hands toward heaven. And he said, Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, there is no Elohim like you in heaven above or on the earth beneath, who keeps covenant and mercy with your servants that walk before you with all their heart, who have kept with your servant David my father that you promised him. You spoke also with your mouth and have fulfilled it with your hand, as it is this day. Therefore now, Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, keep with your servant David my father that you promised him, saying, There shall not fail you a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Yasharel, so that your children take heed to their way, that they walk before me as you have walked before me. And now, O Elohim of Yasharel, let your word, I pray you, be verified, which you spoke unto your servant David my father. But will Elohim indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain you. How much less this house that I have built? Yet have you respect unto the prayer of your servant, and to his supplication, O Yahuah my Elohim, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which your servant prays before you today, that your eyes may be open toward this house night and day, even toward the place of which you have said, My name shall be there, that you may hearken unto the prayer which your servant shall make toward this place. And hearken you to the supplication of your servant and of your people Yasharel, when they shall pray toward this place, and hear you in heaven, your dwelling place. And when you hear, forgive. If any man trespass against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and the oath come before your altar in this house, then hear you in heaven, and do, and judge your servants, condemning the wicked to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous to give him according to his righteousness. When your people Yasharel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against you, and shall turn again to you, and confess your name, and pray, and make supplication unto you in this house, then hear you in heaven, and forgive the sin of your people Yasharel, and bring them again unto the land which you gave unto their fathers. When heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against you, if they pray toward this place, and confess your name, and turn from their sin when you afflict them, then hear you in heaven, and forgive the sin of your servants and of your people Yasharel. that you teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon your land, which you have given to your people for an inheritance. If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, blasting, mildew, locust, or if there be caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever the plague, whatsoever sickness there be, what prayer and supplication soever be made by any man, or by all your people Yasharel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hand toward this house, then hear you in heaven your dwelling place, and forgive, and do, and give to every man according to his ways, whose heart you know. For you, even you only, know the hearts of all the children of men, that they may fear you all the days that they live in the land which you gave unto our fathers. Moreover, concerning a stranger that is not of your people Yasharel, but comes out of a far country for your name's sake, for they shall hear of your great name, and of your strong hand, and of your outstretched arm. When he shall come and pray toward this house, hear you in heaven your dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to you for, that all the people of the earth may know your name, to fear you as do your people Yasharel, that they may know that this house which I have built is called by your name. If your people go out to battle against your enemy, whithersoever you shall send them, and shall pray unto Yahuah toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house that I have built for your name, then hear you in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against you, for there is no man that sins not, and you be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near. Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives, and repent, and make supplication unto you in the land of them that carried them captive, saying, We have sinned, we have done perversely, we have committed wickedness, and so return unto you with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto you toward their land, which you gave unto their fathers, the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name. Then hear you their prayer and their supplication in heaven, your dwelling place, and maintain their cause. And forgive your people that have sinned against you, and all their transgressions wherein they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion before them who carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they be your people, and your inheritance, which you brought forth out of Mitzrayim, from the midst of the furnace of iron, that your eyes may be open unto the supplication of your servant, and unto the supplication of your people Yasharel, to hearken unto them in all that they call for unto you. For you did separate them from among all the people of the earth, to be your inheritance, as ye spoke by the hand of Moshe your servant, when you brought our fathers out of Mitzrayim, O Adonai Yahuah. And it was so, that when Shlomo had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication unto Yahuah, he arose from before the altar of Yahuah, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread up to heaven. And he stood and blessed all the congregation of Yasharel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahuah that has given rest unto his people Yasharel, according to all that he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moshe his servant. Yahuah, our Elohim, be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers. And let these my words wherewith I have made supplication before Yahuah be nigh unto Yahuah our Elohim, day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Yasharel at all times, as the matter shall require, that all the people of the earth may know that Yahuah is Elohim, and that there is none else. Let your heart, therefore, be perfect with Yahuah our Elohim, to walk in his statutes, and to keep his commandments, as at this day. And the king, and all Yasharel with him, offered sacrifice before Yahuah. And Shlomo offered a sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto Yahuah, 22,000 oxen, and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Yasharel dedicated the house of Yahuah. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of Yahuah. For there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. Because the brazen altar that was before Yahuah was too little to receive the burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And at that time Shlomo held a feast, and all Yasharel with him, a great congregation, from the entering of Hamath unto the river of Mitzrayim before Yahuah our Elohim, 7 days, and 7 days, even 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went unto their tents joyful and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahuah had done for David his servant, and for Yasharel his people. Chapter 9. And it came to pass, when Shlomo had finished building the house of Yahuah, and the king's house, and all Shlomo's desire which he was pleased to do, that Yahuah appeared to Shlomo the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. And Yahuah said unto him, I have heard your prayer and your supplication that you made before me. I have hallowed this house, which you have built, to put my name there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually. And if you will walk before me, as David your father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded you, and will keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom upon Yasharel forever, as I promised to David your father, saying, There shall not fail you a man upon the throne of Yasharel. But if you shall at all turn from following me, you or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes, which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Yasharel out of the land which I have given them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight, and Yasharel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. And at this house which is high, everyone that passes by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss, and they shall say, Why has Yahuah done thus unto this land, and to this house? And they shall answer, Because they forsook Yahuah their Elohim, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Mitzrayim, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them, and served them, and therefore has Yahuah brought upon them all this evil. And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, when Shlomo had built the 2 houses, the house of Yahuah and the king's house. Now Hiram, the king of Tsor, had furnished Shlomo with cedar trees and fir trees and with gold, according to all his desire. That then King Shlomo gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galil. And Hiram came out from Tsor to see the cities which Shlomo had given him, and they pleased him not. And he said, What cities are these which you have given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul unto this day. And Hiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold. And this is the reason of the levy which King Shlomo raised, for to build the house of Yahuah, and his own house, and Milo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hatzor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. For Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, had gone up and taken Gezer, and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanite that dwelt in the city, and given it for a present unto his daughter, Shlomo's wife. And Shlomo built Gezer, and Beth Horon the nether, and Baalath, and Tadmor in the wilderness in the land, and all the cities of store that Shlomo had, and cities for his chariots, and cities for his horsemen, and that which Shlomo desired to build in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. And all the people that were left of the Amori, Heti, Perizi, Chiwi, Yebusi, which were not of the children of Yasharel, their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Yasharel also were not able utterly to destroy, upon those did Shlomo levy a tribute of bondservice unto this day. But of the children of Yasharel did Shlomo make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots, and his horsemen. These were the chief of the officers that were over Shlomo's work, 550, which bare rule over the people that wrought in the work. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of the city of David unto her house which Shlomo had built for her. Then did he build Milo. And 3 times in a year did Shlomo offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto Yahuah. And he burnt incense upon the altar that was before Yahuah. So he finished the house. And King Shlomo made a navy of ships in Etzion Geber, which is besides Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with servants of Shlomo. And they came to Ophir, and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Shlomo. Chapter 10. And when the king of Sheba heard of the fame of Shlomo concerning the name of Yahuah, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices, and very much gold, and precious stones. And when she was come to Shlomo, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. And Shlomo told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king, which he told her not. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Shlomo's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sittings of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up unto the house of Yahuah, there was no more spirit in her. And she said to the king, It was a true report that I heard in mine own land of your acts and of your wisdom. Howbeit I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told me. Your wisdom and prosperity exceeds the fame which I heard. Happy are your men. Happy are these your servants, which stand continually before you, that hear your wisdom. Blessed be Yahuah your Elohim, which delighted in you, to set you on the throne of Yasharel. Because Yahuah loved Yasharel forever, therefore made he you king, to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices very great store, and precious stones. There came no more such abundance of spices as these which the queen of Sheba gave to King Shlomo. And the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of Yahuah, and for the king's house, harps also, and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug trees, nor were seen unto this day. And King Shlomo gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Shlomo gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Now the weight of gold that came to Shlomo in 1 year was 666 talents of gold. Besides that, he had of the merchantmen, and of the traffic of the spice merchants, and of all the kings of Arab, and of the governors of the country. And King Shlomo made 200 targets of beaten gold, 600 shekels of gold went into one target. And he made 300 shields of beaten gold, 3 pound of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory, and overlaid it with the best gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were stays on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stays. And 12 lions stood there on the one side, and on the other upon the 6 steps. There was not the like made in any kingdom. And all King Shlomo's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Shlomo. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. So King Shlomo exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And all the earth sought to Shlomo to hear his wisdom, which Elohim had put in his heart. And they brought every man his present, vessels of silver and vessels of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, a rate year by year. And Shlomo gathered together chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots, and 12,000 horsemen, whom he bestowed in the cities for chariots, and with the king at Jerusalem. And the king made silver to be in Jerusalem as stones, and cedars made he to be as sycamore trees that are in the vale for abundance. And Shlomo had horses brought out of Mitzrayim, and linen yarn. The king's merchants received the linen yarn at a price. And a chariot came up and went out of Mitzrayim for 600 shekels of silver, and a horse for 150. And so, for all the kings of the Chetti and for the kings of Aram, did they bring them out by their means. Chapter 11. But King Shlomo loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabi, Ammoni, Edomi, Sidoni, and Chitti, of the nations concerning which Yahuah said unto the children of Yasharel, "You shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods." Shlomo clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Shlomo was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with Yahuah his Elohim, as was the heart of David his father. For Shlomo went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidoni, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammoni. And Shlomo did evil in the sight of Yahuah, and went not fully after Yahuah, as did David his father. Then did Shlomo build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. And Yahuah was angry with Shlomo, because his heart was turned from Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which Yahuah commanded. Wherefore Yahuah said unto Shlomo, "Forasmuch as this is done of you, and you have not kept my covenant and my statutes which I have commanded you, I will surely rend the kingdom from you, and will give it to your servant. Notwithstanding, in your days I will not do it for David your father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of your son. Howbeit I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to your son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake which I have chosen." And Yahuah stirred up an adversary unto Shlomo, Hadad the Edomi. He was the king's seed in Edom. For it came to pass, when David was in Edom, and Joab, the captain of the host, was gone up to bury the slain, after he had smitten every male in Edom. For 6 months did Joab remain there with all Yasharel, until he had cut off every male in Edom. That Hadad fled, he and certain Adami of his father's servants with him, to go into Mitzrayim, Hadad being yet a little child. And they arose out of Midian, and came to Paran, and they took men with them out of Paran, and they came to Mitzrayim, unto Pharaoh king of Mitzrayim, which gave him a house, and appointed him victuals, and gave him land. And Hadad found great favor in the sight of Pharaoh, so that he gave him to wife the sister of his own wife, the sister of Tachpeneus, queen. And the sister of Tachpeneus bare him Genubath, his son, whom Tachpeneus weaned in Pharaoh's house, and Genubath was in Pharaoh's household among the sons of Pharaoh. And when Hadad had heard in Mitzrayim that David slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the captain of the host, was dead, Hadad said to Pharaoh, "Let me depart, that I may go to mine own country." Then Pharaoh said unto him, "But what have you lacked with me, that, behold, you seek to go to your own country?" And he answered, "Nothing. Howbeit, let me go in any wise." And Elohim stirred him up another adversary, Rezon, the son of Eliadah, which fled from his lord Hadadezer, king of Tzobah. And he gathered men unto him, and became captain over a band, when David slew them of Tzobah. And they went to Damasek, and dwelt therein, and reigned in Damasek. And he was an adversary to Yasharel all the days of Shlomo, beside the mischief that Hadad did, and he abhorred Yasharel, and reigned over Aram. And Yeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephratite of Seradah, Shlomo's servant, whose mother's name was Seruah, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king. And this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king. Shlomo built Millo, and repaired the breaches of the city of David his father. And the man, Jeroboam, was a mighty man of valor. And Shalomo, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Yosef. And it came to pass at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Achiah, the Shiloni, found him in the way, that he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Achiah caught the new garment that was on him, and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, Take you 10 pieces, for thus said Yahuah, the Elohim of Yasharel, Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Shalomo, and will give 10 tribes to you. But he shall have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Yasharel. Because that they have forsaken me, and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidoni, Chemosh, the god of the Moab, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do what is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. Howbeit I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and I will give it unto you, even 10 tribes. And unto his son will I give 1 tribe, that David my servant may have a light alway before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen to put my name there. And I will take you, and you shall reign according to all that your soul desires, and shall be king over Yasharel. And it shall be, if you will hearken unto all that I command you, and will walk in my ways, and do that is right in my sight, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with you, and build you a sure house, as I built for David, and will give Yasharel unto you. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever. Shalomo sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. And Jeroboam arose and fled unto Mitzrayim, unto Shishak, king of Mitzrayim, and was in Mitzrayim until the death of Shalomo. And the rest of the acts of Shalomo, and all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the books of the acts of Shalomo? And the time that Shalomo reigned in Jerusalem over all Yasharel was 40 years. And Shalomo slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead. Chapter 12. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Yasharel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who was yet in Mitzrayim, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Shalomo, and Jeroboam dwelt in Mitzrayim, that they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Yasharel came, and spoke unto Rehoboam, saying, Your father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make you the grievous service of your father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve you. And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Shalomo his father while he yet lived, and said, How do you advise that I may answer this people? And they spoke unto him, saying, If you will be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. And he said unto them, What counsel give you, that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke which your father did put upon us lighter? And the young men that were grown up with him spoke unto him, saying, Thus shall you speak unto this people that spoke unto you, saying, Your father made our yoke heavy, but make you it lighter unto us. Thus shall you say unto them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. Now, whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father has chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the 3rd day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the 3rd day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spoke to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from Yahuah, that he might perform his saying which Yahuah spoke by Achijah the Shiloni to Jeroboam the son of Nebat. So when all Yasharel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in Dawid? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Yeshai to our tents, O Yasharel. Now see to your own house, Dawid. So Yasharel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Yasharel which dwelt in the cities of Yehudah, Rechaboam reigned over them. Then King Rechaboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Yasharel stoned him with stones, that he died. Therefore King Rechaboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So Yasharel rebelled against the house of Dawid unto this day. And it came to pass, when all Yasharel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Yasharel. There was none that followed the house of Dawid, but the tribe of Yehudah only. And when Rechaboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Yehudah, with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Yasharel, to bring the kingdom again to Rechaboam, the son of Shlomo. But the word of Elohim came unto Shemaiah, the man of Elohim, saying, Speak unto Rechaboam, the son of Shlomo, king of Yehudah, and unto all the house of Yehudah and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people, saying, Thus said Yahuah, Ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren, the children of Yasharel. Return every man to his house, for this thing is from me. They hearkened therefore to the word of Yahuah, and returned to depart according to the word of Yahuah. Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein, and went out from thence, and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, Now shall the kingdom return to the house of Dawid. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of Yahuah at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rechaboam, king of Yehudah, and they shall kill me, and go again to Rechaboam, king of Yehudah. Whereupon the king took counsel, and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold your gods, O Yasharel, which brought you up out of the land of Mitzrayim. And he set the one up in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. And he made a house of high places, and made Kohen of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Lewi. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Yehudah, and he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made, and he placed in Bethel the Kohen of the high places which he had made. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Yasharel, and he offered upon the altar and burnt incense. Chapter 13. And behold, there came a man of Elohim out of Yehudah, by the word of Yahuah, unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of Yahuah, and said, O altar, altar, thus said Yahuah, Behold, a child shall be born unto the house of Dawid, Yoshiah by name, and upon you he shall offer the Kohens of the high places that burn incense upon you, and men's bones shall be burnt upon you. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which Yahuah has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of Elohim, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, Lay hold of him. And his hand, which he put forth against him, dried up, so that he could not pull it in again to him. The altar was also rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of Elohim had given by the word of Yahuah. And the king answered and said unto the man of Elohim, Entreat now the face of Yahuah your Elohim, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored again. And the man of Elohim besought Yahuah, and the king's hand was restored to him again, and became as it was before. And the king said unto the man of Elohim, Come home with me, and refresh yourself, and I will give you a reward. And the man of Elohim said unto the king, If you will give me half your house, I will not go in with you. Neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place. For so it was charged me by the word of Yahuah, saying, Eat no bread, nor drink water, nor turn again by the same way that you came. So he went another way, and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the words that the man of Elohim had done that day in Bethel. The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father. And their father said unto them, What way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of Elohim went, which came from Yehudah. And he said unto his sons, Saddle me the ass. So they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon, and went after the man of Elohim, and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, Are you the man of Elohim that came from Yehudah? And he said, I am. Then he said unto him, Come home with me, and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with you, nor go in with you, neither will I eat bread, nor drink water with you in this place. For it was said to me by the word of Yahuah, You shall eat no bread, nor drink water there, nor turn again to go by the way that you came. And he said unto him, I am a prophet also as you are, and an angel spoke unto me by the word of Yahuah, saying, Bring him back with you into your house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him. So he went back with him, and did eat bread in his house, and drank water. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of Yahuah came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of Elohim that came from Yehudah, saying, Thus said Yahuah, Forasmuch as you have disobeyed the mouth of Yahuah, and hast not kept the commandment which Yahuah your Elohim commanded you, but came back, and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place, of which Yahuah did say to you, Eat no bread, and drink no water, your carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of your fathers. And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the ass, to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way, and slew him, and his carcass was cast in the way. And the ass stood by it, the lion also stood by the carcass. And behold, men passed by, and saw the carcass cast in the way, and the lion standing by the carcass. And they came and told it in the city where the old prophet dwelt. And when the prophet that brought him back from the way heard thereof, he said, It is the man of Elohim, who was disobedient unto the word of Yahuah. Therefore Yahuah hath delivered him unto the lion, which has torn him, and slain him, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke unto him. And he spoke to his sons, saying, Saddle me the ass. And they saddled him. And he went and found his carcass cast in the way, and the ass and the lion standing by the carcass. The lion had not eaten the carcass, nor torn the ass. And the prophet took up the carcass of the man of Elohim, and laid it upon the ass, and brought it back. And the old prophet came to the city to mourn and to bury him. And he laid his carcass in his own grave, and they mourned over him, saying, Alas, my brother. And it came to pass, after he had buried him, that he spoke to his sons, saying, When I am dead, then bury me in the sepulchre wherein the man of Elohim is buried, lay my bones beside his bones. For the saying which he cried by the word of Yahuah against the altar in Bethel, and against all the houses of the high places which are in the cities of Shomeron, shall surely come to pass. After this thing, Jeroboam returned not from his evil way, but made again of the lowest of the people Kohens of the high places. Whosoever would, he consecrated him, and he became one of the Kohens of the high places. And this thing became sin unto the house of Jeroboam, even to cut it off, and to destroy it from off the face of the earth. Chapter 14. At that time Abijah, the son of Jeroboam, fell sick. And Jeroboam said to his wife, Arise, I pray you, and disguise yourself, that you be not known to be the wife of Jeroboam, to get you to Shiloh. Behold, there is Yahuah the prophet, which told me that I should be king over his people. And take with you 10 loaves and cracknels and a cruse of honey, and go to him. He shall tell you what shall become of the child. And Jeroboam's wife did so, and arose and went to Shiloh, and came to the house of Yahuah. But Yahuah could not see, for his eyes were set by reason of his age. And Yahuah said unto Yahuah, Behold, the wife of Jeroboam comes to ask a thing of you for her son, for he is sick. Thus and thus shall you say unto her, for it shall be, when she comes in, that she shall feign herself to be another woman. And it was so, when Yahuah heard the sound of her feet, as she came in at the door, that he said, Come in, you wife of Jeroboam, why feign you yourself to be another? For I am sent to you with heavy tidings. Go tell Jeroboam, Thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, For as much as I exalted you from among the people, and made you prince over my people Yasharel, and rent the kingdom away from the house of David, and gave it to you, and yet you have not been as my servant David, who kept my commandments, and who followed me with all his heart, to do that only which was right in mine eyes, but have done evil above all that were before you. For you have gone and made you other gods and molten images, to provoke me to anger, and hast cast me behind your back. Therefore, behold, I will bring evil upon the house of Jeroboam, and will cut off from Jeroboam all that pisses against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Yasharel, and will take away the remnant of the house of Jeroboam, as a man takes away dung, till it be all gone. Him that dies of Jeroboam in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that dies in the field shall the fowls of the air eat, for Yahuah has spoken it. Arise you, therefore, get you to your own house, and when your feet enter into the city, the child shall die. And all Yasharel shall mourn for him and bury him, for he only of Jeroboam shall come to the grave, because in him is found some good thing toward Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel in the house of Jeroboam. Moreover, Yahuah shall raise him up a king over Yasharel, who shall cut off the house of Jeroboam that day. But what, even now? For Yahuah shall smite Yasharel, as a reed is shaken in the water, and he shall root up Yasharel out of his good land, which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they have made their Asherah, provoking Yahuah to anger. And he shall give Yasharel up because of the sins of Jeroboam, who did sin, and who made Yasharel to sin. And Jeroboam's wife arose and departed, and came to Tirzah, and when she came to the threshold of the door, the child died. And they buried him, and all Yasharel mourned for him, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke by the hand of his servant Yahuah the prophet. And the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, how he warred and how he reigned, behold, they are written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel. And the days which Jeroboam reigned were 22 years, and he slept with his fathers, and Nadab his son reigned in his stead. And Rehoboam the son of Shlomo reigned in Yehudah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which Yahuah did choose out of all the tribes of Yasharel to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammoni. And Yehudah did evil in the sight of Yahuah, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins which they had committed, above all that their fathers had done. For they also built them high places, and images, and Asherah on every high hill, and under every green tree. And there were also male prostitutes in the land. And they did according to all the abominations of the nations which Yahuah cast out before the children of Yasharel. And it came to pass in the 5th year of King Rehoboam that Shishak, king of Mitzrayim, came up against Jerusalem. And he took away the treasures of the house of Yahuah, and the treasures of the king's house. He even took away all, and he took away all the shields of gold which Shlomo had made. And King Rehoboam made in their stead brazen shields, and committed them unto the hands of the chief of the guard, which kept the door of the king's house. And it was so, when the king went into the house of Yahuah, that the guard bare them, and brought them back to the guard chamber. Now, the rest of the acts of Rehoboam, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all their days. And Rehoboam slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. and his mother's name was Naamah an Ammoni. And Abiyam, his son, reigned in his stead. Chapter 15. Now, in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, reigned Abiyam over Yehudah. 3 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abishalom. And he walked in all the sins of his father, which he had done before him, and his heart was not perfect with Yahuah his Elohim, as the heart of David his father. Nevertheless, for David's sake did Yahuah his Elohim give him a lamp in Jerusalem, to set up his son after him, and to establish Jerusalem. Because David did that which was right in the eyes of Yahuah, and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life. Now, the rest of the acts of Abiyam and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? And there was war between Abiyam and Jeroboam. And Abiyam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. And Asa his son reigned in his stead. And in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Yasharel, reigned Asa over Yehudah. And 41 years reigned he in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abishalom. And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of Yahuah, as did David his father. And he took away the male prostitutes out of the land, and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. And also Maacah his mother, even her he removed from being queen, because she had made an idol in Asherah. And Asa destroyed her idol, and burnt it by the brook Kidron. But the high places were not removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was perfect with Yahuah all his days. And he brought in the things which his father had dedicated, and the things which himself had dedicated, into the house of Yahuah, silver and gold and vessels. And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Yasharel, all their days. And Baasha, king of Yasharel, went up against Yehudah, and built Ramah, that he might not suffer any to go out or come in to Asa, king of Yehudah. Then Asa took all the silver and the gold that were left in the treasures of the house of Yahuah, and the treasures of the king's house, and delivered them into the hand of his servants. The king Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, the son of Tabrimon, the son of Hezion, king of Aram, that dwelt at Damascus, saying, There is a league between me and you, and between my father and your father. Behold, I have sent unto you a present of silver and gold. Come and break your league with Baasha, king of Yasharel, that he may depart from me. So Ben-Hadad hearkened unto King Asa, and sent the captains of the host which he had against the cities of Yasharel, and smote Eion, and Dan, and Abel Beth Maacah, and all Kinneroth, with all the land of Naphtali. And it came to pass, when Baasha heard thereof, that he left off building of Ramah, and dwelt in Tirzah. Then King Asa made a proclamation throughout all Yehudah, none was exempted, and they took away the stones of Ramah, and the timber thereof, wherewith Baasha had built, and King Asa built with them Gebah of Benjamin, and Mitzpah. The rest of all the acts of Asa, and all his might, and all that he did, and the cities which he built, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? Nevertheless, in the time of his old age, he was diseased in his feet. And Asa slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. And Jehoshaphat his son reigned in his stead. And Nadab the son of Jeroboam began to reign over Yasharel in the 2nd year of Asa the king of Yehudah, and reigned over Yasharel 2 years. And he did evil in the sight of Yahuah, and walked in the way of his father, and in his sin wherewith he made Yasharel to sin. And Baasha the son of Achiah of the house of Yissaschar, Yahuah conspired against him, and Baasha smote him at Gibbethon, which belonged to the Pelishti, for Nadab and all Yasharel laid siege to Gibbethon. Even in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Yehudah, did Baasha slay him, and reigned in his stead. And it came to pass, when he reigned, that he smote all the house of Jeroboam. He left not to Jeroboam any that breathed, until he had destroyed him, according unto the saying of Yahuah, which he spoke by his servant Achiah the Shiloni. Because of the sins of Jeroboam, which he sinned, and which he made Yasharel sin, by his provocation wherewith he provoked Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel to anger. Now the rest of the acts of Nadab and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Yasharel, all their days. In the 3rd year of Asa, king of Yehuda, began Baasha, the son of Achiah, to reign over all Yasharel in Tirzah, 24 years. And he did evil in the sight of Yahuah, and walked in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin wherewith he made Yasharel to sin. Chapter 16. Then the word of Yahuah came to Jehu, the son of Hanani, against Baasha, saying, Forasmuch as I exalted you out of the dust, and made you prince over my people Yasharel, and you have walked in the way of Jeroboam, and hast made my people Yasharel to sin, to provoke me to anger with their sins, behold, I will take away the posterity of Baasha, and the posterity of his house, and will make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Him that dies of Baasha in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that dies of his in the fields shall the fowls of the air eat. Now the rest of the acts of Baasha, and what he did, and his might, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? So Baasha slept with his fathers and was buried in Tirzah, and Elah his son reigned in his stead. And also by the hand of the prophet Jehu, the son of Hanani, came the word of Yahuah against Baasha, and against his house, even for all the evil that he did in the sight of Yahuah, in provoking him to anger with the work of his hands, in being like the house of Jeroboam, and because he killed him. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Yehuda, began Elah, the son of Baasha, to reign over Yasharel in Tirzah 2 years. And his servant Zimri, captain of half his chariots, conspired against him, as he was in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk in the house of Asa, steward of his house in Tirzah. And Zimri went in and smote him and killed him, in the 27th year of Asa king of Yehuda, and reigned in his stead. And it came to pass, when he began to reign, as soon as he sat on his throne, that he slew all the house of Baasha. He left him not one that pisses against a wall, neither of his kinfolks nor of his friends. Thus did Zimri destroy all the house of Baasha, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke against Baasha by Jehu the prophet. For all the sins of Baasha, and the sins of Elah his son, by which they sinned, and by which they made Yasharel to sin, in provoking Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel to anger with their vanities. Now the rest of the acts of Elah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? In the 27th year of Asa, king of Yehuda, did Zimri reign 7 days in Tirzah, and the people were encamped against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Pelishtim. And the people that were encamped heard say, Zimri has conspired, and has also slain the king. Wherefore all Yasharel made Omri, the captain of the host, king over Yasharel that day in the camp. And Omri went up from Gibbethon, and all Yasharel with him, and they besieged Tirzah. And it came to pass, when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the palace of the king's house, and burnt the king's house over him with fire, and died. For his sins which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of Yahuah, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin which he did to make Yasharel to sin. Now the rest of the acts of Zimri, and his treason that he wrought, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? Then were the people of Yasharel divided into 2 parts. Half of the people followed Tibni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people that followed Omri prevailed against the people that followed Tibni, the son of Ginath. So Tibni died, and Omri reigned. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Yehuda, began Omri to reign over Yasharel. 12 years. 6 years reigned he in Tirzah. And he bought the hill Shomeron of Shemer for 2 talents of silver, and built on the hill, and called the name of the city which he built after the name of Shemer, owner of the hill, Shomeron. But Omri wrought evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and did worse than all that were before him. For he walked in all the way of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and in his sin wherewith he made Yasharel to sin, to provoke Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel to anger with their vanities. Now, the rest of the acts of Omri which he did, and his might that he showed, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? So Omri slept with his fathers, and was buried in Shomeron, and Ahab, his son, reigned in his stead. And in the 38th year of Asa, king of Yehudah, began Ahab, the son of Omri, to reign over Yasharel. And Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Yasharel in Shomeron 22 years. And Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of Yahuah, above all that were before him. And it came to pass, as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that he took to wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidoni, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. And he reared up an altar for Baal in the house of Baal which he had built in Shomeron. And Ahab made an Asherah, and Ahab did more to provoke Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel to anger than all the kings of Yasharel that were before him. In his days did Hiel the Beth Ali build Jericho. He laid the foundation thereof in Abiram, his firstborn, and set up the gates thereof in his youngest son Zegub, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke by Yahusha the son of Nun. Chapter 17. And Eliahu the Tishbe, who was of the inhabitants of Gilad, said unto Ahab, As Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel lives, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of Yahuah came unto him, saying, Get you hence, and turn you eastward, and hide yourself by the brook Cherith, that is before Yarden. And it shall be that ye shall drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. So he went and did according unto the word of Yahuah, for he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Yarden. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. And the word of Yahuah came unto him, saying, Arise, get you to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain you. So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks. And he called to her, and said, Fetch me, I pray you, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her, and said, Bring me, I pray you, a morsel of bread in your hand. And she said, As Yahuah your Elohim lives, I have not a cake, but an handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. And Eliahu said unto her, Fear not, go and do as you have said, but make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for you and for your son. For thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, The barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that Yahuah sends rain upon the earth. And she went and did according to the saying of Eliahu, and she and he and her house did eat many days. And the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke by Eliahu. And it came to pass after these things, that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was so sore that there was no breath left in him. And she said unto Eliahu, What have I to do with you, O you men of Elohim? Are you come unto me to call my sin to remembrance, and to slay my son? And he said unto her, Give me your son. And he took him out of her bosom, and carried him up into a loft, where he abode, and laid him upon his own bed. And he cried unto Yahuah, and said, O Yahuah, my Elohim, have you also brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourn, by slaying her son? And he stretched himself upon the child 3 times, and cried unto Yahuah, and said, O Yahuah, my Elohim, I pray you, let this child's soul come into him again. And Yahuah heard the voice of Eliahu, and the soul of the child came into him again, and he revived. And Eliyahu took the child, and brought him down out of the chamber into the house, and delivered him unto his mother. And Eliyahu said, See, your son lives. And the woman said to Eliyahu, Now by this I know that you are a man of Elohim, and that the word of Yahuah in your mouth is truth. Chapter 18. And it came to pass after many days, that the word of Yahuah came to Eliyahu in the 3rd year, saying, Go show yourself unto Achab, and I will send rain upon the earth. And Eliyahu went to show himself unto Achab, and there was a sore famine in Shomeron. And Achab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared Yahuah greatly. For it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahuah, that Obadiah took 100 prophets, and hid them by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water. And Achab said unto Obadiah, Go into the land, unto all fountains of water, and unto all brooks. Peradventure we may find grass to save the horses and mules alive, that we lose not all the beasts. So they divided the land between them to pass throughout it. Achab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. And as Obadiah was on the way, behold, Eliyahu met him. And he knew him, and fell on his face, and said, Are you that, my lord Eliyahu? And he answered him, I am. Go tell your lord, behold, Eliyahu is here. And he said, What have I sinned, that you would deliver your servant into the hand of Achab to slay me? As Yahuah your Elohim lives, there is no nation or kingdom whither my Lord hath not sent to seek you. And when they said, He is not there, he took an oath of the kingdom and nation that they found you not. And now you say, Go tell your Lord, behold, Eliyahu is here. And it shall come to pass, as soon as I am gone from you, that the Ruach of Yahuah shall carry you whither I know not. And so, when I come and tell Achab that he cannot find you, he shall slay me. But I, your servant, fear Yahuah from my youth. Was it not told, my lord, what I did when Isabel slew the prophets of Yahuah, how I hid 100 men of Yahuah's prophets by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water? And now you say, Go tell your lord, behold, Eliyahu is here, and he shall slay me. And Eliyahu said, As Yahuah of hosts lives, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him today. So Obadiah went to meet Achab, and told him, and Achab went to meet Eliyahu. And it came to pass, when Achab saw Eliyahu, that Achab said unto him, Are you he that troubles Yasharel? And he answered, I have not troubled Yasharel, but you and your father's house, in that you have forsaken the commandments of Yahuah, and you have followed Baal. Now therefore send and gather to me all Yasharel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of Asherah 400, which eat at Isabel's table. So Achab sent unto all the children of Yasharel, and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And Eliyahu came unto all the people, and said, How long halt you between two opinions? If Yahuah be Elohim, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Then said Eliyahu unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of Yahuah, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And call you on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of Yahuah. And the Elohim that answer by fire, let him be Elohim. And all the people answered and said, It is well spoken. And Eliyahu said unto the prophets of Baal, Choose you 1 bullock for yourselves, and dress it first, for you are many, and call on the name of your gods, and put no fire under. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, O Baal, hear us! But there was no voice, nor any that answered, and they leaped upon the altar which was made. And it came to pass at noon that Eliyahu mocked them, and said, Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is on a journey, or peradventure sleepeth, and must be awaked. they cried aloud, and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lances till the blood gushed out upon them. And it came to pass, when midday was past, that they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that there was neither voice, nor any to answer, nor any that regarded. And Eliyahu said unto all the people, Come near unto me. And all the people came near unto him, and he repaired the altar of Yahuah that was broken down. And Eliyahu took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of Yahuah came, saying, Yasharel shall be your name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of Yahuah, and he made a trench about the altar, as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order, and cut the bullock in pieces, and laid him on the wood, and said, Fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice, and on the wood. And he said, Do it the second time. And they did it a second time. And he said, Do it the third time. And they did it the third time. And the water ran round about the altar, and he filled the trench also with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that Eliyahu the prophet came near and said, Yahuah, Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and of Yasharel, let it be known this day that you are Elohim in Yasharel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Hear me, O Yahuah, hear me, that this people may know that you are Yahuah Elohim, and that you have turned their heart back again. Then the fire of Yahuah fell, and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, Yahuah, he is the Elohim! Yahuah, he is the Elohim! And Eliyahu said unto them, Take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they took them, and Eliyahu brought them down to the brook Kishon, and slew them there. And Eliyahu said unto Achab, Get you up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain. So Achab went up to eat and to drink. And Eliyahu went up to the top of Carmel, and he cast himself down upon the earth, and he put his face between his knees. And he said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, There is nothing. And he said, Go again 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time that he said, Behold, there arises a little cloud out of the sea, like a man's hand. And he said, Go up and say unto Achab, Prepare your chariot, and get you down, that the rain stop you not. And it came to pass in the meanwhile that the heaven was black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Achab rode and went to Yizreel. And the hand of Yahuah was on Eliyahu, and he girded up his loins, and ran before Achab to the entrance of Yizreel. Chapter 19. And Achab told Jezebel all that Eliyahu had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Eliyahu, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose, and went for his life, and came to Be'er Sheba, which belongs to Yehudah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough. Now, O Yahuah, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him, and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baken on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And the angel of Yahuah came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you. And he arose, and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of Elohim. And he came thither into a cave, and lodged there, and behold, the word of Yahuah came to him. And he said unto him, What do you do here, Eliyahu? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yahuah Elohim of hosts. For the children of Yasharel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before Yahuah. And behold, Yahuah passed by, and a great strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before Yahuah. But Yahuah was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But Yahuah was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But Yahuah was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still, small voice. And it was so, when Eliyahu heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out and stood in the entering in of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him, and said, What do you do here, Eliyahu? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yahuah Elohim of hosts, because the children of Yasharel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And Yahuah said unto him, Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you come, anoint Hazael to be king over Aram. And Jehu, the son of Nimshi, shall you anoint to be king over Yasharel. And Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel Mecholah, shall you anoint to be prophet in your room. And it shall come to pass that him that escapes the sword of Hazael shall you slay, and him that escapes from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Yasharel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him. So he departed thence, and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Eliyahu passed by him, and cast his mantle upon him. And he left the oxen, and ran after Eliyahu, and said, Let me, I pray you, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you. And he said unto him, Go back again, for what have I done to you? And he returned back from him, and took a yoke of oxen, and slew them, and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose, and went after Eliyahu, and ministered unto him. Chapter 20. And Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, gathered all his host together. And there were 32 kings with him, and horses, and chariots. And he went up and besieged Shomeron, and warred against it. And he sent messengers to Ahab, king of Yasharel, into the city, and said unto him, Thus said Ben-Hadad, Your silver and your gold is mine, your wives also and your children, even the goodly are mine. And the king of Yasharel answered and said, My lord, O king, according to your saying, I am yours, and all that I have. And the messengers came again and said, Thus speaks Ben-Hadad, saying, Although I have sent unto you, saying, You shall deliver me your silver and your gold, and your wives and your children, yet I will send my servants unto you tomorrow about this time, and they shall search your house and the houses of your servants. And it shall be that whatsoever is pleasant in your eyes, they shall put it in their hand and take it away. Then the king of Yasharel called all the elders of the land, and said, Mark, I pray you, and see how this man seeks mischief. For he sent unto me for my wives, and for my children, and for my silver, and for my gold, and I denied him not. And all the elders and all the people said unto him, Hearken not unto him, nor consent. Wherefore he said unto the messengers of Ben-Hadad, Tell my lord the king, all that you did send for to your servant at the first I will do, but this thing I may not do. And the messengers departed, and brought him word again. And Ben-Hadad sent unto him, and said, The gods do so unto me, and more also, if the dust of Shomeron shall suffice for handfuls for all the people that follow me. And the king of Yasharel answered and said, Tell him, let not him that girds on his harness boast himself as he that puts it off. And it came to pass, when Ben-Hadad heard this message, as he was drinking, he and the kings in the pavilions, that he said unto his servants, Set yourself in array. And they set themselves in array against the city. And behold, there came a prophet unto Ahab, king of Yasharel, saying, Thus said Yahuah, Have you seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will deliver it into your hand this day, and you shall know that I am Yahuah. And Ahab said, By whom? And he said, Thus said Yahuah, even by the young men of the princes of the provinces. Then he said, Who shall order the battle? And he answered, You. Then he numbered the young men of the princes of the provinces, and they were 232. And after them he numbered all the people, even all the children of Yasharel, being 7,000. And they went out at noon. But Benhadad was drinking himself drunk in the pavilions, he and the kings, the 32 kings that helped him. And the young men of the princes of the provinces went out first. And Benhadad sent out, and they told him, saying, There are men come out of Shomeron. And he said, Whether they be come out for peace, take them alive, or whether they be come out for war, take them alive. So these young men of the princes of the provinces came out of the city, and the army which followed them, and they slew every one his man. And the Aram fled, and Yasharel pursued them. And Benhadad the king of Aram escaped on a horse with the horsemen. And the king of Yasharel went out, and smote the horses and chariots, and slew the Aram with a great slaughter. And the prophet came to the king of Yasharel, and said unto him, Go, strengthen yourself, and mark, and see what you do. For at the return of the year the king of Aram will come up against you. And the servants of the king of Aram said unto him, Their gods are gods of the hills, therefore they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. And do this thing, take the kings away, every man out of his place, and put captains in their rooms. And number you an army, like the army that you have lost, horse for horse, and chariot for chariot. And we will fight against them in the plain, and surely we will be stronger than they. And he hearkened unto their voice, and did so. And it came to pass at the return of the year that Benhadad numbered the Aram, and went up to Aphek to fight against Yasharel. And the children of Yasharel were numbered, and were all present, and went against them. And the children of Yasharel pitched before them like two little flocks of kids, but the Aram filled the country. And there came a man of Elohim, and spoke unto the king of Yasharel, and said, Thus said Yahuah, because the Aram have said, Yahuah is Elohim of the hills, but he is not Elohim of the valleys. Therefore will I deliver all this great multitude into your hand, and you shall know that I am Yahuah. And they pitched one over against the other 7 days. And so it was that in the 7th day the battle was joined, and the children of Yasharel slew of the Aram 100,000 footmen in 1 day. But the rest fled to Aphek into the city, and there a wall fell upon 27,000 of the men that were left. And Benhadad fled, and came into the city, into an inner chamber. And his servants said unto him, Behold now, we have heard that the kings of the house of Yasharel are merciful kings. Let us, I pray you, put sackcloth on our loins, and ropes upon our heads, and go out to the king of Yasharel. Peradventure he will save your life. So they girded sackcloth on their loins, and put ropes on their heads, and came to the king of Yasharel, and said, Your servant Benhadad said, I pray you, let me live. And he said, Is he yet alive? He is my brother. Now the men did diligently observe whether anything would come from him, and did hastily catch it. And they said, Your brother Benhadad. Then he said, Go you, bring him. Then Benhadad came forth to him, and he caused him to come up into the chariot. And Benhadad said unto him, The cities which my father took from your father I will restore, and ye shall make streets for you in Damasek, as my father made in Shomeron. Then said Achab, I will send you away with this covenant. So he made a covenant with him, and sent him away. And a certain man of the sons of the prophets said unto his neighbor in the word of Yahuah, Smite me, I pray you. And the man refused to smite him. Then said he unto him, Because you have not obeyed the voice of Yahuah, behold, as soon as you are departed from me, a lion shall slay you. And as soon as he was departed from him, a lion found him, and slew him. Then he found another man, and said, Smite me, I pray you. And the man smote him, so that in smiting him he wounded him. So the prophet departed, and waited for the king by the way, and disguised himself with ashes upon his face. And as the king passed by, he cried unto the king, and he said, Your servant went out into the midst of the battle, and behold, a man turned aside, and brought a man unto me, and said, Keep this man. If by any means he be missing, then shall your life be for his life, or else you shall pay a talent of silver. And as for your servant was busy here and there, he was gone. And the king of Yasharel said unto him, So shall your judgment be. Yourself hast decided it. And he hasted and took the ashes away from his face. And the king of Yasharel discerned him that he was of the prophets. And he said unto him, Thus said Yahuah, Because you have let go out of your hand a man whom I appointed to utter destruction, therefore your life shall go for his life, and your people for his people. And the king of Yasharel went to his house heavy and displeased, and came to Shomeron. Chapter 21. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Yisraeli had a vineyard which was in Yisrael, hard by the palace of Achab, king of Shomeron. And Achab spoke unto Naboth, saying, Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give you for it a better vineyard than it. Or, if it seem good to you, I will give you the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Achab, Yahuah forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto you. And Achab came into his house heavy and displeased, because of the word which Naboth the Yisraeli had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him, and said unto him, Why is your spirit so sad that you eat no bread? And he said unto her, Because I spoke unto Naboth the Yisraeli, and said unto him, Give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it please you, I will give you another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give you my vineyard. And Isabel his wife said unto him, Do you now govern the kingdom of Yasharel? Arise and eat bread, and let your heart be merry. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Yisraeli. So she wrote letters in Achab's name, and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote in the letters, saying, Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people, and set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him to bear witness against him, saying, You did blaspheme Elohim and the king, and then carry him out and stone him, that he may die. And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants in his city, did as Isabel had sent unto them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them. They proclaimed a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. And there came in 2 men, children of Belial, and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme Elohim and the king. Then they carried him forth out of the city, and stoned him with stones, that he died. Then they sent to Isabel, saying, Naboth is stoned, and is dead. And it came to pass, when Isabel heard that Naboth was stoned, and was dead, that Isabel said to Achab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Yisraeli, which he refused to give you for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead. And it came to pass, when Achab heard that Naboth was dead, that Achab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Yisraeli, to take possession of it. And the word of Yahuah came to Eliyahu the Tishbe, saying, Arise, go down to meet Achab the king of Yasharel, which is in Shomeron. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone down to possess it. And you shall speak unto him, saying, Thus said Yahuah, Have you killed, and also taken possession? And you shall speak unto him, saying, Thus said Yahuah, In the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth shall dogs lick your blood, even your. And Achab said to Eliyahu, Have you found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found you, because you have sold yourself to work evil in the sight of Yahuah. Behold, I will bring evil upon you, and will take away your posterity, and will cut off from Achab him that pisses against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Yasharel, and will make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Achiah, for the provocation wherewith you have provoked me to anger, and made Yasharel to sin. And of Isabel also spoke Yahuah, saying, The dogs shall eat Isabel by the wall of Yisrael. Him that dies of Achab in the city the dogs shall eat, and him that dies in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of Yahuah, whom Isabel his wife stirred up. And he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things as did the Emori, whom Yahuah cast out before the children of Yasharel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard those words, that he rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly. And the word of Yahuah came to Eliyahu the Tishbe, saying, See you how Ahab humbled himself before me? Because he humbled himself before me, I will not bring evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. Chapter 22. And they continued 3 years without war between Aram and Yasharel. And it came to pass in the third year that Jehoshaphat the king of Yehudah came down to the king of Yasharel. And the king of Yasharel said unto his servants, Know you that Ramoth in Gilead is ours, and we be still, and take it not out of the hand of the king of Aram? And he said unto Jehoshaphat, Will you go down with me to battle to Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Yasharel, I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Yasharel, Inquire, I pray you, at the word of Yahuah today. Then the king of Yasharel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for Yahuah shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of Yahuah besides that we might inquire of him? And the king of Yasharel said unto Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man, Micaiah, the son of Yimlah, by whom we may inquire of Yahuah. But I hate him, for he does not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, Let not the king say so. Then the king of Yasharel called an officer and said, Hasten thither Micaiah, the son of Yimlah. And the king of Yasharel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Yehudah, sat each on his throne, having put on their robes in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Shomeron. And all the prophets prophesied before them. And Sidkiyahu, the son of Kena'anah, made him horns of iron, and he said, Thus said Yahuah, With these shall you push the Aram until you have consumed them. And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for Yahuah shall deliver it into the king's hand. And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spoke unto him, saying, Behold now, the words of the prophets declare good unto the king, with one mouth. Let your word, I pray you, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. And Micaiah said, As Yahuah lives, what Yahuah said unto me, that will I speak. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, Go and prosper, for Yahuah shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure you that you tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of Yahuah? And he said, I saw all Yasharel scattered upon the hills, as sheep that have not a shepherd. And Yahuah said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Yasharel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell you that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, Hear you therefore the word of Yahuah. I saw Yahuah sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Yahuah said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit, and stood before Yahuah, and said, I will persuade him. And Yahuah said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Ye shall persuade him, and prevail also. Go forth, and do so. Now therefore, behold, Yahuah has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these your prophets, and Yahuah has spoken evil concerning you. But Sidkiyahu, the son of Kena'anah, went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek, and said, Which way went the ruach of Yahuah from me to speak unto you? And Micaiah said, Behold, you shall see in that day, when you shall go into an inner chamber to hide yourself. And the king of Yasharel said, Take Micaiah and carry him back unto Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and say, Thus said the king, Put this fellow in prison, and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction, until I come in peace. And Micaiah said, If you return at all in peace, Yahuah has not spoken by me. And he said, Hearken, O people, every one of you. So the king of Yasharel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Yehudah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the king of Yasharel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into the battle, and put you on your robes. And the king of Yasharel disguised himself and went into the battle. But the king of Aram commanded his 32 captains that had rule over his chariots, saying, Fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king of Yasharel. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, Surely it is the king of Yasharel. And they turned aside to fight against him, and Jehoshaphat cried out. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Yasharel, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture, and smote the king of Yasharel between the joints of the harness. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariots, Turn your hand, and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed up in his chariot against the Aram, and died at even. And the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. And there went a proclamation throughout the host about the going down of the sun, saying, Every man to his city, and every man to his own country. So the king died, and was brought to Shomeron, and they buried the king in Shomeron. And one washed the chariot in the pool of Shomeron. And the dogs licked up his blood, and they washed his armor, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he made, and all the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah his son raised in his stead. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Asa, began to reign over Yehudah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Yasharel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father. He turned not aside from it, doing that which was right in the eyes of Yahuah. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Yasharel. Now, the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat and his might that he showed, and how he warred, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? And the remnant of the male prostitutes, which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land. There was then no king in Edom, a deputy was king. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they went not, for the ships were broken at Etzion Geber. Then said Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, unto Jehoshaphat, Let my servants go with your servants in the ships. But Jehoshaphat would not. And Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. And Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Yasharel in Shomeron, the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Yehudah, and reigned 2 years over Yasharel. And he did evil in the sight of Yahuah, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Yasharel to sin. For he served Baal, and worshipped him, and provoked to anger Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, according to all that his father had done.